Let's go to Elaine Quijano, who's really in the thick of things there in Florida City near Homestead. Elaine, I can see that you're starting to really get buffeted by these winds. Can you talk about the conditions and how they've deteriorated since you've been out there?
Yeah, so it's interesting, Stephanie. When we got out here early this morning, it was just as the winds were really starting to pick up. And what we've seen as the hours have gone by is a gradual sort of increase. And then all of a sudden, I would say in the last hour and a half or so, we've had some really intense gusts that have been strong enough to take down a tree. And gusts that have been strong enough, if you take a look at this sign behind me here, to peel back that metal sign and then rip some of these palm fronds from the palm trees here just behind me. You can see this parking lot area is sort of littered with some of that debris. Over here as well is what we're seeing. And I'm watching very carefully. If I turn my back to the camera, it's because I'm trying to keep an eye on whatever debris could be coming our way.
Yeah.
But the power lines are something that have been really vulnerable, Stephanie. I just got off the phone a short time ago with the Homestead Police Department. Homestead is the community right next door to where we are. And they say not only are there officers out, but they are getting calls from people in the community about power lines coming down, which is not altogether surprising when you consider the force of some of these gusts. Now, to give you some context and some perspective, I don't know if you can see it from my vantage point, you probably can't, but behind me there in the distance is Overseas Highway, which is also known as Route 1. And that's the only way in and out of the Florida Keys. And it is there that we were yesterday as we were in Key Largo coming back. There is no way anyone can be on Route 1 right now and be safe. It is just not a possibility. And so the conditions that we're experiencing here, while severe, imagine what it must be like further down the road. We're about 100 miles or so from Key West. This is the area that's known as the gateway to the Florida Keys. And what we can tell you is that a man that we've spoken with by phone in Key West, who decided he was initially going to hunker down in his house, decided at some point overnight to go ahead and move himself, his family members, and also employees of the law firm that he owns over to a hotel there in Key West, because the National Weather Service officials were warning the conditions would be absolutely dire, not just from the wind, the rain, but the storm surge as well. In some areas, predicting 10 to 15 feet. I want to take you up to our second camera right now. Do you get a little bit of a broader view of where we are? So the hotel where we are right now is actually just off Route 1. I don't know if you can see it there with our second camera, but some of the folks who decided to stay in the Keys, despite the mandatory evacuations that were ordered, decided in the last 24 hours or 36 hours when they saw the track that Irma was on, that they were going to go. I've spoken to some longtime residents of the Florida Keys who said, you know, in the past, we've just stayed put. It's not been something that we really have been too concerned about because they've weathered many storms before. However, what we were hearing from the meteorologists and the National Weather Service officials, they said, was enough to convince us to leave. And so a lot of evacuees actually who decided at the almost last minute to get out of the Keys are here at this hotel being housed right now, and they are basically at capacity. Stephanie,
you bring up a really important point, Elaine, and so about evacuation. If folks have not left by this point, should they stay or should they try to get on the highway? And I can guess at what you're saying, but I want to make sure we get this information out and that we're clear about this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a really good point, Stephanie. I will just echo what the National Weather Service out of Key West has said. And this is what they said hours ago, mind you. The idea that anyone could travel and try to get to somewhere safe in this is foolish. That the only thing for people in Key West and some of the other Florida Keys to do at this point, and even this was hours ago that they were telling people this, as the eye was bearing down, that it was just too late. There is no...
Okay, I feel like we have lost Elaine's audio there. You can see that the storm is getting a lot worse where she is. Again, she's in Homestead, Florida.